I'm finding that the beams have increased since my last video on the Hellfire Clubs 2 or 3 hours ago. Indeed, the perpetrators operating this technology seem to have zeroed in on my favorite spots to sit around the town of Warminster. And I'm intrigued as to the mechanisms behind this. Indeed, many have theorized that it's either some sort of Wi-Fi system or simply satellites. Indeed, apparently the targeting is done via an individual's brain waves. So someone else sitting next to you does not feel it. And I honestly wonder how this sort of phenomenon works and why they are spending so much effort and probably cost as well on me. Indeed, perhaps it is just as simple as this being a continuation of the mind control experimentation that began at Grenville Lodge, or this is punishment for exposing the agenda of the Hellfire Club networks. Indeed, it does seem likely that this is some sort of punishment, and this punishment is taking the form of psychotronic torture, whereby I am basically harassed and attacked with beams for most of the day, apart from for the first couple of hours after I wake up in the morning. Then again, I'm wondering who exactly is operating the machine, because they would have people actually operating the machine. It wouldn't be being done by a artificial intelligence device or anything like this. I expect they've actually got someone operating the machine and monitoring my brain patterns and generally monitoring my reactions to the beams as part of a scientific study, basically, to see what would happen. And indeed, the more I think about it, considering the machinations and activities of various networks that I've exposed, especially the Hellfire Clubs and previously the Don Meh cult and various networks such as the Jesuit orders, I am wondering why they didn't just kill me. There must be a longer range strategy that the British intelligence networks wish to use me for. Now, I have two theories on this. What with networks within Anglo British and American intelligence and their counterparts in the Russian intelligence structure, all of which are under a certain degree of influence in the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst, with all of these networks wishing potentially to bring on a dialectical hot war between NATO and the Russian Federation, I may be used in some capacity to bring about this conflict. Indeed, due to public suspicions that I am some sort of member of the Russian Maskirovka, it is possible that the intelligence services would utilize this and thereby would carry out a false flag attack for which they would connect me to it and then blame the false flag attack on the Russian intelligence services when that false flag attack has actually been carried out by the British intelligence services. So I believe they may have engineered my release from the hospital after originally intending to keep me there for potentially the rest of my life, and now I am being built up to be some sort of patsy in an ongoing Cold War agenda whereby I am used to basically cause hostility against Russians by the British population, eventually potentially leading to a hot war. This is only one theory that I have on what the intelligence networks are up to regarding me. Indeed, the second theory I had was the Gladio-2 programming. Indeed, I was programmed with the Nazi fetishist elements of the Gladio-2 program. And now I've broken out of this programming, I'm sure that it's causing them considerable frustration, but they can still point to those years where I was under the programming of the Gladio programmers, and they can use this to basically explain a certain amount of so called history of my life, and therefore they could carry out a false flag attack targeting an, a minority group and then blame that false flag attack on me, for instance. And they can use my so called far right criminal history as justification for the fact that I would supposedly have carried out this act. So it seems that all of these aspects that I have mentioned could be part of the overwhelming British intelligence plot to use me as a patsy. Indeed, I have completely concluded that my release was engineered by British intelligence. Indeed, my psychiatrist was a very nice lady, kind of like a little elf woman. In fact, one of the nicest psychiatrists I've had. But she would have been basically receiving subliminal hints from the Hellfire Club networks in terms of the duration of my captivity and when to release me. Indeed, I was released in coordination with the upcoming conflict. Indeed, the Iran war basically started as I was released, and the majority of the Epstein files releases were brought out at the same time, basically, as my release. Indeed, it's all very fishy. Not that those things were occurred because of me, but my release was engineered to coincide with those events. It's all part of a larger intelligence agenda and a larger Hellfire Club operation. Indeed, it's all very scary, really, when you think about it, that some creeps have complete control over the narrative of my whole life, basically, and can engineer my release from a mental hospital specifically to build me up to be a patsy while torturing me with psychotronic weaponry. Indeed, I have surmised before and continue to surmise that my mother is somehow a part of this plot. I even believe she may have sold me to Grenville Lodge for experimentation. And I don't believe her price was particularly high. I believe it was in the realm of about £3,000. And I do not know this for certain, but there are certain things that have happened over the years and certain collusions between my mother and the authorities, including psychiatrists, police, even GPs, and various Masonic entities, basically. And these are not by chance. Indeed, my mother also was an employee of a German corporation, which kind of links very much into this whole agenda that I'm trying to basically expose. Indeed, my mother is a part of this agenda. I don't know exactly how much she is involved, but she is certainly in collusion with the police and the psychiatric system and Grenville Lodge. So I highly doubt she understands quite what she is doing, but nevertheless, she is doing it anyway. Indeed, I am a little apprehensive about the future, and I have endeavored to make myself seen in public places in Warminster, where I am now dwelling, to minimize any risk of disappearance, i.e., that my disappearance would be noticed. Indeed, I'm not sure what the intelligence services intend to do, but I don't think that it would work out particularly well for me. They don't seem to want to kill me. I'm not entirely sure where that is, because why that is, but I'm sure it's because they intend to use me in some way. And after being set up as a patsy, I would probably be put into a mental institution for the rest of my life and denied any access to a video camera. And therefore, I would not be able to keep talking about these people. Indeed, many people would state that I was just suffering from grandiose delusions. Indeed, at times I have considered that myself, that I am simply delusional. But judging by the activities of everyone else around me, when I start operating, I'm pretty sure I'm not actually delusional and that a lot of this is actually genuine. In fact, the majority of this is actually genuine. Indeed, the exposures I did of the Wiltshire police, although at times probably slightly skewed, were more or less correct. Wiltshire police are running certain rings, certain criminal operations, mainly around narcotics and the prostitution of minors. Indeed, this is something that the Hellfire Club initiates and their Masonic lackeys heading Wiltshire Police would not like revealed. Indeed, the Masons within Wiltshire Police would have already known about my activities at Grenville Lodge many years before, and therefore would have implemented some sort of damage control. Indeed, a lot of the damage control involved attempting to frame me, which is very interesting. I think it's also a very sad way of going about things. Indeed, it almost seems that these networks were quite desperate, really. And it's interesting that they seem to be scared of what I say, which means that I'm not simply grandiose and delusional. Indeed, I do have many delusions. And one of my delusions is that I'm a GRU operative. Indeed, I slip into that quite often. Indeed, sometimes I just say it because I I find it kind of funny to say it, but sometimes I actually genuinely start believing it. Often when I'm walking around, especially in the night time, I actually begin to believe I am an operative of Russian intelligence spying on British society installations and general data harvesting. Indeed, I think I may have confused Wiltshire Police because I think their lower level functionaries may have actually believed me that I was spying on them for a branch of Russian intelligence, which is very interesting. And to me, I find that incredibly amusing. There was something I was thinking about in the last couple of days because I've now identified where the Warminster Masonic Hall is, and it contains a couple of lodges. I mean, Wyvern Lodge, I can't remember the number of it, and I believe Longleat Lodge meet there. So I'm going to keep up a vigil on that Masonic establishment. I doubt it's quite as prestigious as Grenville Lodge, but there would still be nefarious deeds carried out anyway, and by observing that, I could learn more about the local landscape and who the real creeps are around here. Indeed, I've lost my train of thought. I was thinking about this. Like, the KGB used the Masonic Lodge to penetrate British intelligence to quite a high degree. What is interesting is that the Masonic Lodge was pretty much controlling the KGB. So it was almost a pointless exercise, really. However, most people don't actually know who they're working for or who is controlling them. So, due to the compartmentalized nature of the intelligence services, these KGB operatives may have believed they were penetrating British intelligence via the Masonic Lodge, while the Masonic Lodge was actually controlling them via the top levels of British intelligence, which is basically that would be how I would explain this, though alternate theories are always welcome. However, I believe this Wyvern Lodge, specifically in Warminster, may be the one to pinpoint during my operations here. And I'm not quite sure how to go about this because when I start talking about local operations of Masonic lodges and police, etc., I tend to get a lot of hostility from the community in which I am living. Which is very interesting indeed. The population of devices were basically incited against me like a raging mob, which was very interesting. It was especially interesting to see all of the so-called local gangsters defending their local village policemen, which I found amusing at the time, and I still find amusing now, and I think I will always find very amusing. Indeed, most of these supposed local gangsters in places like Devizes, and I don't doubt it in Warminster also, and in Calne and various places, probably most small towns in Britain, most of these supposed local gangsters are actually confidential police informants. Indeed, I could list off names, but I don't really fancy the ire of the communities going at me again, so I'm just going to leave that to the imagination of the viewer. Indeed, I've kind of gone off on a meander in this video, and it doesn't really have a unifying theme like many of the other videos on the channel. But the basic premise is that I believe my release at this time, to coincide with certain global events, was engineered by the Hellfire Club networks of British intelligence to basically put me in a situation whereby I would be tortured by psychotronic weapons and would eventually go insane and carry out some sort of violent act. This violent act would then be magnified by the occurrence of a false flag attack to coincide with this violent act. And this false flag attack would either cause a conflict in some capacity between the United Kingdom and the Russian Federation, or would set off the dialectical hybrid civil war in the UK. Now, I am most probably not the only person that this particular scenario is happening to. Indeed, I expect several other mental patients across the United Kingdom are also in the same position. There are many psychiatric patients who are former British intelligence recruits and were mind controlled and then were in some way weeded out by the intelligence services and railroaded into asylums because they had figured out what was going on, or they were beginning to figure out what was going on, or they had simply noticed that something was not right within the British intelligence services. And something is seriously not right within the British intelligence services. Something is rotten. As in Hamlet, something rotten in the state of Denmark. However, this is something rotten in British intelligence. And the beams are now beginning to rise again now that I'm talking about certain topics. So I guess we can definitely conclude that it is a British operation, this beaming. Indeed, I'm not too sure how possible it is for instance, the Russian Federation to carry out psychotronic attacks in British mental hospitals and British small towns. But it may be possible, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm not convinced. Indeed, I am more convinced that it is a British operation, and whether that is that there's actually a Wiltshire police officer operating the technology, I do not know. Indeed, I'm expecting to start seeing people following me in the coming weeks, and I'm starting to expect certain synchronicities to start occurring as we are entering a phase whereby the intelligence services would like to drive me mad, specifically so I carry out an act of violence, which I don't intend to do and most probably will not do. Thereby, they are going to have, in fact, I'm definitely not going to. Therefore, they're going to have to try a different plan, which will probably entail some sort of false flag activity, which will then be blamed on me to cause a conflict, either between the Russian Federation and the United Kingdom, which may take the form of simply a covert intelligence war, but with dynamics whereby the British population will feel hostility towards Russians, just as happened with the Skripal deception. Indeed, that was a British intelligence operation. Dawn Sturgis died of a drug overdose, and the Skripals were attacked with poison by British assassins, basically. So it's all very interesting. And the other possible scenario, as I've stated, is that my supposed far right history will be used as justification for a supposed series of events whereby a false flag attack will be carried out and then blamed on me to set up the hybrid civil war in the UK, which I've explained in several previous videos, which are for the viewers' perusal in their own time. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.